Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Eternal Flames. Sorry about the past couple days, we've had some issues over here at our studio. Today we're going to be doing 3 tutorials because I kind of flubbed up the past couple days, and I did promise some character creation. So, get ready, we're going to start getting a bit more technical. This is also going to be a bit harder because we're going to be using techniques that are going to be used for the first time here at our tutorials. So just like always, we're going to go and start with this, hit 5 so that we can get a nice fill in, and then we're going to open this box, and once again we're going to center our cube. Now we're also going to add polycube 1 here, which is actually the name of our object. You might want to change this name to character 1, just for the time being, okay? And there's actually rationality behind this. We're going to hit 5 for width, 5 for height, 5 for depth. Okay, no subdivisions yet, because we're actually going to have to build this a very specific way. So, now that we've done that, here's what we're going to do. First things first is we're going to start building up off of this cube using the Extrude Tool, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're literally going to grab this top. Oh, make sure soft select is turned off. Apparently I forgot to turn that off after the last tutorial. My apologies. Let's go ahead and we're going to pull this up, and we're literally just going to get to work. So what we're doing right now is we're making the chest cavity. Okay? Now to a couple of you guys, this is going to look really strange and really wonky. Keep in mind, your character doesn't have to look spot on, mostly because of a process we're going to do later. So keep that in mind when you're making your guys, that they don't have to look perfect. But we want them as close as possible for everything else we're doing. So let's see. Before we start moving into arms, let's get the bottom section down here. And we're actually going to squeeze up his hips a little bit. Pull this back. And if you notice, right now I'm just kind of moving my topology around a little bit. Hopefully you guys have kept up with me so you know how to do this. If not, I apologize. I recommend going back and viewing some of my earlier tutorials. So let's see, we're going to pull this chest up a bit here and pop this out. And if you notice, we've already got that nice arch to the back just from how I pulled this. And yeah, we've got some slants. Just enough to bring that chest fully out. Like this person's popping their chest forward. Okay? So that's a big thing. Granted, we're going to probably pull the gut out a little bit later, but right now with the current topology, it's just not worth it. So, next up, we need to pop this up, pop a square up, and then we're going to shrink this a bit. Then we're going to actually pop this forward a bit. Now, if you notice, the topology is a little bit messed up, but that's fine. And we're going to shrink this a bit. Now, this is important because a little bit later down the line, we're going to have to actually tweak this stuff right here. So, there we go. Now we got the back of the head. And if you notice, we got that nice little crest. Then we're going to take this edge, and we're going to pull it down just a notch, and then pull this up about there. Okay, so look at that. In just a little while, I know I moved a bit fast there, we've got the core of our body. And it's easy to see that this is already starting to look like a person. Now, I apologize if I moved a bit fast. We're going to take a breather, and I'm going to kind of tell you how we're going to do this. Now that we've got a core, we're going to leave that core the hell alone. Minus one thing. I need you guys to select the face tool, right? Select everything. Click the square that says front. If you don't know how to get that going, it's in your display options. I believe it's a UI element. Let me just double check. I always get this one mixed up personally. I don't see it. Heads up display? Ah, there it is. View cube. Right down here. hit front. Okay, for those of you who actually want an easier time with this, hit your space bar. Just a light tap, and it'll bring up our 4 screens. I know we went over this once before. You can also do the front view right here. So this should be perfectly centered, but we're going to go ahead and cut this in half. So find this center line as best you can and cut there. Then, selecting faces again, I want you to select half of this mesh and hit delete. A handful of you are going, what the hell are you doing? You're deleting part. No, you want to delete half the mesh, and there's a very valid reason. You are from here on out only going to build half a character, and we're going to use symmetry later on down the line. For those of you who are building lopsided characters who, like, say, skitters, as you've seen on our outro, have, some big parts, some small parts, don't be afraid. It's fine. You can actually work it from there, and we'll go over this in a different tutorial. For now that some of you have actually caught up a bit, we're going to go ahead and start doing arms and legs. I'm going to try and make this specific tutorial relatively short, because right after this we're going to go into hands, feet, and heads. Using Extrude again, we're going to pop this out, pull this up. Now this is very important. I didn't find this out for a long time, and it was my own stupidity. There's 2 ways you can do this from here, once you've extruded. A lot of people who do halfway models are going to pull from that one we just pulled from. Don't do it. If you look at your shoulders come out and then your arms go down, okay? Which means you gotta pull from here. But if you guys look at 3D models, there's a T-pose, like literally a T-pose. So what we want to do is we want to take this edge right here and pull it up, not above this corner right here, but just about. Now here's where it gets tricky. Taking this again, we need to click Extrude, but then you're going to hit your W key, and you're going to pull it forward. Now, a couple of you are probably going, what the hell are you doing? Let's go back to our front view. Now, grabbing this, I want you to scoot it straight to that blue square. And if you notice it flattened out, that's perfect. It doesn't need to be flat, but this is going to be helpful for what we're about to do here coming up. Now, as you know, with any body part, it starts to squish down a little bit more each time we come from the core of our body. So we're going to do just that. And we're going to do a little bit more each time. And boom. Okay. Now, we're going to pull out again. And depending on which version of Maya you have, you might have a division thing here. I'm personally using 2014. I believe this was put in 2012? Don't quote me on that. But if you click over here, you can hit 2, and boom. This will actually give you some stuff here. If all else fails, don't be afraid to do Edit Mesh, Extrude Tool, or if we scroll down, you'll notice there's some extra options here. You can actually click this, and you can add extra things to it as well. So that, or actually we want Extrude 15, I suppose. But you get the idea. We can actually do stuff from here, and there's even some options here that we can actually do with Extrude 15. Honestly, there's a dozen different ways to do it, but I'm just going to use this for the time being. Try to follow along as best you can. Now, the reason why we're doing this, and I'm going to explain this very carefully, is where your joints bend, you want tight topology so that there's as little stretching as possible. And if you've actually seen some of my older videos, which are probably private by now, I'm hoping, there's some awkward stretching going on in here. It's because I didn't put these extra edge loops in. So keep that in mind. These are important for just the feel and look of your character. Next up, we're going to actually blow this up just a little bit. There we go. Not enough to match your bicep, but enough to kind of give it its own thing. And then we're going to pull out again. And we're going to shrink it right back down. And already we're looking at this guy. And the arm's a bit too long. but we can fix that later. And then we're going to add in the wrist. Okay, same process as the elbow, and boom. You could also do it in here, but we're going to be adding more edge loops a little bit later. Especially once we start adding hands and feet. You're going to end up with so much work ahead of you. So, going back into our perspective view here, you can kind of see how this is starting to look. Definitely not the greatest work we've done. Well, actually, if you guys are just following the tutorials, it might just be the greatest work you've done so far. But we'll keep going from here. Let's actually tip this up a bit. Now, pro tip. Do not mess with the center line. The center line is your godsend. If this moves even a little bit, you are going to have problems. I might purposely screw this up just to show you how to fix it. But for the sake of you guys actually following along, I'm going to assume that you guys haven't screwed this up. If you have, make sure you're saving regularly. Matter of fact, here, I'll even save with you. Save scene as, and we're going to do character model tutorial 1. Please excuse me if I spelled that wrong, not the greatest speller here. And continue. There. So, we save together. Alright. Next up, the leg. Same as the face, we want to go and pull this out. So, oh, sorry, wrong button. We're going to click this, and boom. Pop this out. Snag this edge loop. And we're actually going to pull this one down, and then this one out. Now, with this, we can actually pull the crotch down just a little bit. And I'm going to say this right now while you guys are watching. I am not going to be doing full ungenitalia, but we might do some love bumps just for authenticity if you want to put clothes and all that on your character. Keep in mind that, yeah, while I do my models with nudity, I have no intention of it being sexual in any which way, and generally, I just sculpt on, the genitalia. I don't actually, model it out. Come on, guys, PG within reason, right? I think it's like, R17 or something like that. Anyways, so same idea. If you want to put an edge loop in here, go for it. But we're gonna get plenty in this area as is here soon. Anyways, thigh, kneecap, and then once again doing our little double ups, right? And this is one. Don't be afraid to pull this forward, but we can do that here in a bit. Essentially, you want your foot under your head. And once again, don't be afraid if he's a bit wonky at first. We're going to be tweaking him quite a bit here in the near future. And shrink this up. And then down again with another thing of 2. Alrighty then. So now that we've got that, we're going to actually kind of expand the foot a bit. Because you notice your foot's a bit wide, right? Or at least wider than your ankle. And we're going to expand that again. And then this time, we're going to pull from here. So, here's the thing. We have a choice coming up here soon. We can either choose to do toes, or we can choose to omit them. This is a choice I'm going to leave to you guys. What do you want for your characters and how you want to do it? I'm going to go over how to make toes. I'm going to tell you right now, it is not unnecessary. Now, selecting, edges. I'm sorry, I had a loop there. We're going to go and pull this a bit. And we're actually going to do like this a bit. There we go. His calf seems a little underdeveloped there, so there we go. And yeah, so his arm seems a bit long as well. We're actually gonna go ahead and bring that back a bit. There we go. Actually bring this back this way a bit. And if you notice, at this point, we're just kind of moving stuff around. You know, really getting a feel for where we want everything. Okay, this is one of those few times where you might want to be moving your middle loop, but here's how we're going to do it. First, we're going to deselect these. Make sure you know we're not doing that. And now we're going to click this yellow arrow and just move it straight down. There we go. So, now we're going to follow some anatomy, just for the sake. And keep in mind, when moving this middle one, you're only going to use up and down. Mostly, once again, for, you know, collective thought. Your neck moves, you know, kind of the center motion down. We're even going to move this out just a touch. Once again, up and down and out if possible. The one we're going to grab the shoulders. And at this point, we're just, actually that's fine, 7th cervical vertebra and whatnot. And we're just moving these pieces just a little bit to give us some more shape. Keep in mind, do not touch that red arrow too much. You're trying your best to stay away from that. Okay. And boom, 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 boom. I'm actually going to select all these. Move them all at once. Same thing with this. Boom. Okay. There we go. So now we've got, sorry, Control Z there. So now we've got kind of a basic character model. We're going to do one last thing here, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial, and we're going to jump right into the next one. Excuse me. And if you notice, I didn't do any detail work, or at least not any special detail work. He looks human enough, and there's nothing super special about him. That's exactly how we need a base. Now, keep in mind that bases are important, because this is what you're going to be literally doing everything else off of. Okay, for your hand, we're going to pull that out. Yoink this a bit, you know, kind of do a good number there. And then we're going to pull this out once, twice. Now, keep in mind, this is my personal way of doing it. There are a dozen other ways to do it. Don't be afraid to seek out other tutorials, or maybe discover your own way. I had to discover my own way, and it's served me good so far. So, let's see, we're gonna squish this down a bit. There we go. We're gonna grab these and should I just grab all these faces? Oh, and pull them up a bit. Same thing with this wrist. Let's grab this wrist. Boom. There we go. Okay. And that's it for our base model. So, a couple of you going, well, aren't you going to mirror it? Not yet. We're actually not done. For the record, we're about to go over hands, we're about to go over the head, as well as put, you know, an ear on this guy, and once again, we're going to keep this as basic as possible. Now, we haven't done anything super special here. This is literally as basic as it gets. And it's got a good flow, a good feel, it looks fun, and if yours doesn't look, you know, as good, or maybe yours looks better, don't stress it, keep working with it. Now, oh, he's got baby hands. We need to fix that. I just noticed that. He's got baby hands. We'll fix this, and, oh yeah. Here's another pro tip. Press D while you've got this thing up, and hold it. Then you can actually move it using these little toss, or, I'm not sure what you call these. Anyways. And then it will move based off of that center point. There we go. He no longer has baby hands. I like big hands personally, but that's a personal agenda. Anyways, so on that note, I will see you guys here in a bit. Thank you very much for watching. If you like, please hit the like button and feel free to leave a comment, or maybe if you enjoy the tutorials or enjoy our Let's Plays, hit subscribe. See you guys soon.